We are now moving to our next speaker, Angel Alberti. Angel is the Secretary General of EWABA. He has a legal background and extensive experience in European affairs, in particular renewable energy. Angel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sandrine. It's a pleasure to join you in this conference. Let me just... Okay, so I'm in control of the presentation. Am I? The gremlins strike back. Okay, got it. There is a small decalage, but all right. Sorry about that. Yeah. My name is Angel Alberti, and I am the Secretary General of EWABA, the European Waste-Based Biodiesel Association. We were created a bit longer than 7 years ago, and we are based in Brussels, representing the interests of European waste biodiesel producers. I understand that you had a session on the RAD2, so I can tell you, for those of you who know about the RAD2, we mostly represent companies using feedstocks listed in Part B of Annex 9 of the RAD2, that is used cooking oil and animal fats. But we also use other wastes and residues, and we will talk about that in a second. Just a word about EWABA. As I said, we are 7 years old. I still like to think we are a young association compared to others that have been around in Brussels for many decades. Nevertheless, in 7 years, we've reached a pretty sizable number of members and production, and we have very interesting representation of companies from a wide variety of member states, and also we have like very different types of associations, from indeed the largest that there are globally, for example, RAG and Dave Slade, with whom we've been cooperating very intensely for years, just spoke before me, or Greenergy, one of the largest European producers, to smaller, almost family-owned and run companies. A big difference between a waste-based biodiesel company or plant, sorry, and others is the size. They tend to be smaller, retrofitted, former crop-based biodiesel plants. And to finish with this short presentation, essentially what we do in Brussels as the voice of the industry, and we are in that respect similar to Eurofuel for our industry, we represent the interests of our members, trying to obtain the best possible regulatory framework for the purposes of our members. And we've been, I believe, quite successful in doing that. The RAD2, which you've seen last week, but given that, I mean, our industry to a great extent exists thanks to the public promotion, to the decision of policymakers. Essentially, like all renewable fuels in Europe, we will need to examine the RAD2 as our industry, our outlook is greatly determined by public policies. Just to mention, as you are very much well aware of, we are heading headfirst towards a period of unprecedented regulatory activity for the renewable fuels sector, with a very unexpectedly earlier revision of the Renewable Energy Directive, the RED2, the FQD. We have all the implementation of the RED2, which will have a massive impact on our industry and the renewable fuels industries at large. We will have a new instrument on aviation fuels, on another one on maritime fuels. So you should all expect a great deal, as I said, really unprecedented in the last decades, regulatory activity in Brussels. Now, my presentation today, very quickly, this is a quick snapshot of our members' production and production of all types of biodiesel. I would like to highlight that I'm talking about our members because even if we represent the vast majority of the waste-based biodiesel industry in Europe, we are not representing all players. And I believe there is, well, this is all types of biodiesel, and you can see, I don't know if you can see my arrow moving, I hope you do, that some of our members also engage in production of sustainable conventional biodiesel, but is less than a quarter of our members' production. If you look at the absolute numbers of waste biodiesel, is still a quite sizable amount, slightly more than 1.7 million in 2019. I expect, well, also because we have increased membership, but 2020 volumes, exclusively speaking about our members, will be slightly above 2 million tons. And as I said, this only pertains our members. The figures of the whole industry in Europe would be slightly above 2.5 million at the moment. And this itself would be a fraction of a larger cake, which is the global production of biodiesel in Europe, which is, I believe, at nearly 13 million tons. But I understand that the interests of Eurofuel and NORA, you would like to go away from crop-based feedstocks, and therefore, well, if you have an interest for the future in our products, you should indeed focus on waste based, such as Eucomi and TME. Just a word, Eucomi, of course, is euthyroquinoyl methyl ester, and as you can see, is the largest chunk of our production. TME is tallow methyl ester, animal fats, and this small piece of the cake is related to feedstocks in part A of Annex 9, which are defined as purely advanced. As you probably have been following the debates, this is not clear cut, but it's mostly oily feedstocks within Annex 9 part A, in particular palm oil meal effluent. Now, a bit of regulation quickly. I like to always show this graph from environmental NGO Transport and Environment because it's very visual. We're going to see a couple of others. The RED2, as you know, establishes a 14% target for the use of renewable energy in transport for 2030. This 7% is crop-based biofuels, which is entirely optional. This is capped at a maximum 7%. In reality, this cap would be lower, as you know, because it's 2020 consumption levels +1, as long as this +1 doesn't go beyond 70%, and member states, if they wish so, although no one expects any member states to do so, may reduce this to 0. This is the 3.5 minimum contribution of advanced biofuels, which is in part A of Annex 9, I just mentioned, and we would be here in this other part, double counted at 1.72 times, nearly 3.4, and we are happy that Transport and Environment consider us advanced because, well, as I mentioned, the European definition in the RED2 is, we understand, too restrictive, and well, in the US we are considered advanced. So in Switzerland, Norway, and several member states indistinctively use advanced to refer to us and part A. Well, this is a slide in which I explain with narrative what I just explained to you with the graph from TNE, and this is a very famous graph. Those of you with experience in events may have seen it. This is the graph that the European Commission used to explain the target of renewable energy in transport in the RED2. The RED2 also puts forward a very important element to determine the quality of low carbon fuels, which is the so-called typical and default values in Annex 5. And this is a excerpt from this annex. Obviously, in my position, I'm extremely happy to report that used cooking oil biodiesel, UCOME, so FAME using UCO, has the highest values of the Annex 5, both typical and default, the highest than any other type of biofuel. And animal fats, so TME that we mentioned before, has nearly or is amongst the highest. And this in itself would be a very good argument to state that undoubtedly waste-based biodiesel is the most effective way to reduce greenhouse gas savings in existing vehicles for road use. And if you were considering using waste biodiesel as bioheating oil, you should be aware of these advantages. Indeed, you will have the highest greenhouse gas savings, and you will be using feedstocks that are not tainted by deforestation, palm oil usage, and so on and so forth. The RED2 also establish or confirms a policy mechanism that has been promoting our industry since the RED1, which is the double counting mechanism. This basically the European legislator is just placing a premium on the fuels with the highest greenhouse gas savings. That's the whole Annex 9. Part A, advanced, strictly speaking. Part B, waste-based biodiesel, as. Because all of these biofuels, and indeed waste biodiesel, is more expensive to produce because you need to collect the feedstock, you need to refine it, you need to clean it because it's a nasty and feedstocks are indeed much more difficult than UCO. And obviously, if left to normal market forces, no one would be, well, everybody will be using fossil fuel, basically, because it's the cheapest compared to any other renewable low carbon alternative. So we will believe, we are sure, I mean, no one should be led to a different conclusion, that we require policy incentives to survive. That's why it's important always to pay attention to the EU legislation that then will be transposed in member states. On that note, I would like to conclude by mentioning that there is as I said at the beginning, a revision of the RED2, which is going to be presented by the Commission in June 2021, and there is actually an ongoing public consultation to which I invite you to participate if you have any legitimate interest. We will be, and we are already very active on this legislative file, and we plan to further ensure a positive regulatory framework for waste-based biodiesel. And our key advocacy item, our key demand would be to eliminate a half-baked limitation imposed on feedstocks on PAR-B of Annex 9. It's 1.7, energy content 3.4. We understand that there would be a lot of measures that would make this limitation redundant, such as the adoption of a pan-EU track and trace database for all biofuels and bioliquids, improved certification schemes, and the revision of the Annex 9, which will bring new feedstocks to both Parts A and Part B. So this limitation must go, and we are going to make sure that it goes away. And of course, maintaining the double counting, as I said, as the promotion mechanism for waste biodiesel. To conclude, waste biodiesel, I mean, it's not because I'm the secretary, of EWABA, but I mean, if the facts are out there, and whomever wishes to challenge them is more than welcome, is the low carbon renewable fuel available in commercial quantities throughout the EU, and it has been so for over a decade. It's certainly cheaper to produce than other advanced waste and residue alternatives, and this in the end will be beneficial for the general public. As established in Annex 5 of the RED2, has the highest greenhouse gas savings, and this is typical and default in plants with optimization. We are hitting consistently more than 90% greenhouse gas savings when compared to fossil fuel, and this is audited. And finally, this is some new concept we are hammering. Waste biodiesel is really better in terms of feedstock conversion efficiency when compared to other alternatives in the low carbon fuel arena. And I would be happy to discuss about this if there are any questions or comments. I'll be happy to address them right now. Thank you so much for your attention. You have my coordinates in here. I'm happy to address your questions now, but of course, please keep my email, my phone number if you want to reach me at any time. I'm always happy to have a discussion, constructive or not. My pleasure. Thank you so much.